Hey, first graders, it's Mrs. Seals back for our next science lab. So we have been talking about objects in the sky. We talked about the sun, the moon. We talked about what causes day and night. Today we're going to talk about another object in the sky, which is the stars. So let's go ahead and get started. Your target says I can observe and record changes in the appearance of objects in the sky, such as the stars. So let's first talk about what is a star. Stars are made of gas. Stars make their own heat and light. So the earth is not a star. We are not made of gas, and our earth does not make its own heat and light. We get our heat and light from the sun. Same thing with the moon. The moon is not a star. It is not made of gas. It does not make its own heat and light. It also gets its heat and light from the sun. Stars are very, very far away, trillions and trillions of miles away. Stars can be different colors like orange, white, blue, red, and yellow. Blue stars are the hottest, red stars are the coolest. So their temperature determines what color they are. I said that red stars are the coolest. They are still very, very, very hot. However, they are cooler than the other colors of stars. The sun is a medium-sized star. It is the closest star to Earth, which is why it is so much brighter than the other stars. A lot of people get confused and think that the sun must be the biggest star since it's so bright. However, it is actually only a medium-sized star. A lot of the stars that you see at night are actually much, much, much bigger than the sun. But since they are so much further away, they look so much smaller and they don't light up our earth the way the sun does every day. And there are trillions of stars, way too many to count. If you started counting when you were born and counted your whole life, you still wouldn't be able to count them all. That's how many stars there are. Also, there are many stars that we cannot see. The ones that we can see in the night sky are just a tiny, tiny portion of all the stars there are out there. So let's talk about this big word, a constellation. That's what we're going to focus on today. A constellation is just a group of stars. A long, long time ago, people did not have, things like iPads and YouTube and iPhones and things like that to entertain us and distract us. So what people would do is they would look up at the night sky and use their imagination to kind of connect the dots or connect the stars and create pictures out of those groups of stars. And then they would give them names and write stories about them. So I'm going to tell you about 3 different constellations. This is just to kind of give you an idea of what they look like and what kind of stories have been written about them. And then you're going to be creating your own constellation. So this is a very, very famous constellation called the Big Dipper. Here is what it looks like in the night sky. If you look at these bright stars right here, when we look up at the night sky, the stars aren't connected. They don't have these lines between them like they do in pictures. You just see the stars. That's why I said people use their imagination to kind of connect the dots and make pictures and think about what it looked like. So here is the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is part of a larger constellation called Ursa Major. So here is that constellation. You can see right here within Ursa Major, there is the Big Dipper. So just these stars right here are what we call the Big Dipper, but all of this together is what we call Ursa Major. The people thought this group of stars looked like a bear. So this picture right here, they used their imagination. They thought that this looked like a bear. So they named it Ursa Major, which means big bear in ancient Greek, so in another language. The Big Dipper nickname for the constellation comes from Native American mythology, where they also saw it as a bear, but believed the 3 trailing stars of Ursa Majoris were 3 hunters, with one of them carrying a cooking pot to cook him in case they got lucky. So, or to cook in, I think there's a typo there. So here are the 3 trailing stars that it was talking about. These 3, 1, 2, 3, and they thought that those were hunters, and one of them was carrying this large pot, which we call the Big Dipper. In case they found and hunted the bear, they could cook him in the pot. Okay, so that's the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is very easy to see in our night sky here where we live, and it can actually even be found most of the year too. Some constellations can only be seen in certain seasons because of the way the Earth is tilted. But the Big Dipper where we live is one that can be seen, I think, pretty much year round. All right, I'm going to tell you about 2 more. The next one is Orion, who's a hunter. Here's what it looks like in the night sky. And then here is how they kind of connected the dots with their imagination to imagine what it looks like. So this constellation is formed by some of the brightest stars in the night sky, including 3 lined up stars in the middle that form Orion's belt. So these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, they're saying that that's his belt. There they are right there. These are very easy to spot in our night sky because they're very, very bright. It said, here's a story about Orion. Remember, these stories are just made up. They're what we call myths or legends. Orion was a legendary, strong, handsome hunter that once boasted he could kill every animal on the planet. The goddess Gaia got angry at him for this and sent a scorpion that stung him and killed him. For this reason, it is said the constellations of Orion and Scorpio are never in the sky at the same time. I'll show you Scorpio in just a minute. So they're saying with their imagination, when they looked at this, they thought that he looked like this was a hunter, and this was like his bow and arrow that he was using to hunt the animals. And then, so the legend goes that he was stung by Scorpio, the scorpion, and it killed him. And so that's why they say that Orion and Scorpio are never in the sky at the same time. So that's Orion. Here's Scorpio, Scorpius, the scorpion. Here's what it looks like in the night sky. It's kind of hard to see this one, but here's kind of his, scorpions have kind of like a curly tail. Here's his curly tail, and then here's his body. And then you can see down here what it looks like when they have, used their imagination to connect the dots. So again, remember, this isn't a real story. This is just made up. In Greek mythology, the constellation Scorpius was identified with the scorpion that killed Orion the hunter. That's the one I just told you about. The 2 constellations are opposite each other in the sky, and Orion is said to be fleeing from the scorpion as it sets, just as Scorpius rises. That's pretty interesting, right? So remember, these stories are just made up. People just looked up at the stars, used their imagination, thought kind of, when you look up at the clouds, sometimes the clouds make different shapes and they can look like different things. That's kind of what's happening here. People looked up at the stars, used their imagination to kind of create a picture, thought about what it looked like, and then wrote a story about it just for fun. And these stories have been passed down for many, many years. So friends that are at home, the kids that are in class are going to be creating their own constellation. I'm going to show you what that's like in just a second. If you choose to do this at home, I would love to see it. You can send me a picture of what you create. There's my email address. Remember, it's not required. It's just for fun. Here is how the kids in class are going to create theirs. So every student is going to have a black piece of construction paper, a white crayon, and some of these star stickers. I don't know if you can, there you go, you can kind of see them. They come in packs like this. You can get them like at Walmart or HEB with the office supplies. And they come in these 5 different colors. And each student's going to get one strip of one of them. Okay, it doesn't matter what color you get, because remember, stars can be all different colors depending on how hot or cool they are. So the first thing you're going to do on your paper with your white crayon, you're going to draw your picture nice and big. And this is just a simple picture. Think about like a stick figure. If you think back to the constellations I showed you, when they connect the dots, they're just lines. They're very simple. It doesn't have to be perfect. I know that when I looked at that constellation Scorpius, I didn't see a scorpion at all, but that's okay, because somebody used their imagination and decided it looks like a scorpion. That's the cool thing about constellations, is you can decide what it looks like to you. So you're going to make up your own. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to think about what you want your constellation to be. Constellations can be animals, they could be people, they could be objects. Okay, but you want it to be something simple and something that you can draw very easily. We're not using the white crayon to shade and color. We're just using it to make the lines. I'm going to do a butterfly constellation because I love butterflies. So I'm going to draw my butterfly nice and big on my paper. There's the body. There are the antennas. Here are the wings of the butterfly. Okay, so there's my butterfly. It's very simple. I didn't add details. I'm not decorating its wings. I'm not giving it eyes and a mouth. It's just very simple lines, because the lines are there to connect the stars that are seen in the night sky. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to use your star stickers to place them on the white lines to create your constellation. You can put them wherever you want, but remember that stars are very far apart and they're spread out. So I don't want to see all your stars come together in one spot. I want you to kind of spread them out. So I'm going to put my stars on here. I will put some, let's see, on the wings. Oh goodness, this one's hard to peel. You don't necessarily have to use all of these. They're just there for you if you want to use all of them. Put some on the antennas. Wow, these are hard to peel. They keep ripping. All right. Let me add a couple more stars to my constellation. Let's see, I have 2 more. I'm going to try to use them all up. All right, and I have 1 more. And I'll put him right here. All right, so there is my butterfly constellation. I drew my picture nice and big first, and then I used my stars to to create my constellation. Then you could even give your constellation a name, like I told you, Ursa Major, Orion, Scorpius. There's Cassiopeia, there's Cygnus, there's Leo the lion. There's lots of different names. You could even look online and do some research and find out about some other constellations, maybe to help give you an idea. So I could give my butterfly a name, and then on the back, I could even write a story, make up a myth about how my butterfly loved being outside on a warm spring day. And so now this butterfly is permanently in the sky during the spring when it's warm. My constellation can't be seen in the winter because butterflies don't like winter. My constellation is seen in the spring and summer. Okay. So you can make up a story about your constellation. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is your own constellation, your own thinking. Think about something you can draw very nice and big and simply, and then make up a story about it. All right. If you decide to do this at home, I would love to see what you come up with. You can go back to see my email address. I hope that you had fun learning about stars and constellations, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.